I gotta keep it down because the advice I'm about to give you guys in this video is just too good to share. I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some incredible secrets and an absolute masterclass in one of the strongest techniques in magic, and something that I am a huge fan of. You're gonna see an entire effect using this technique, which is something that a lot of magicians don't think you can do, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. So make sure you stay tuned and enjoy the breakdown. What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got Give Me a Breakdown episode 18, breaking down part 2 of the funniest magic reactions he questioned his reality video. As I mentioned in the first one, this is a super unique breakdown because it's a casual close-up setting, which is a similar situation to what I'm sure a lot of you guys perform in. And so you'll get a lot of great tips on how to handle these casual scenarios a little bit differently. In this video, we talk a little bit about some propless mentalism, and then I go into an absolute deep dive on equivoque, showing you an entire trick using equivoque and one that you can learn right here on the channel after watching this video if you liked it. And this really just turns into an absolute masterclass with tons of great tips, subtleties, and ideas for equivoque, not only verbally, but physically forcing objects. So if you have like 4 objects, or in the trick you're about to see, I force like 1 out of 16 objects, and I show you a systematic way to do that. So this breakdown is absolutely great. If you guys like videos like this, make sure you leave me a comment and drop a like on this video. As always, if you would like to check out any private lessons, you can at the link below, or if you'd like to check out my mentalism membership to learn some of the best mentalism here on YouTube, including some killer effects you can perform at your next casual performance, I will link it up right here, and it is also in the description. Also guys, I've just launched a brand new Facebook page. It's linked in the description if you'd like to go give me a follow. I'll be posting some exclusive access to some early videos on there and lots of content, and it's a great place to get in contact with me. But with all that said, guys, let's not waste any more time and let's get right into the breakdown. I think we're gonna have a mentalism piece now, a star sign propless piece. So this is one of my favorite propless pieces to do, and you can see how strong it is, how clean it looks.
Star sign, don't say it.
Yeah.
Do you know it? Okay, can you
This was kind of a transition piece too. I was gonna do something else, but then I just did this off the cuff.
Can you just think about it? Just imagine like spelled out in the air. Can you just think of the exact number of letters in it for me? Yeah, you got it. Okay, and now just spell it out. Like imagine it in between us, like Leo. Just like spell it right there. Okay. Now just scramble up. Just scramble.
Okay.
Scramble the letters. Just mix them up.
Okay, got it.
Okay, hold on. It's getting a little foggy. Focus.
Okay.
It's getting a little foggy. Okay, it's because you need to focus the picture. Right? Think of the picture.
Yes,
you know the picture, like kind of associated with it.
Yeah.
Can you keep repeating it in your mind for me?
The actual word or the jumbling?
The actual word.
Okay.
Keep saying it in your mind. Keep saying it. Keep repeating over like Libra.
What the
I did, I'll admit, definitely a little bit of the method was cut out there as a, you know, protecting the method, and for video, I think you guys should be editing up your effects a little bit to make them stronger if you're trying to, you know, post magic, because in the internet age, you know, things can be relived, rewatched. So this was using an anagram. The keys to the anagram, I've talked about this in several videos. I have another video from the Give Me a Breakdown series, I think maybe like episode 13, 14, somewhere in there, which I'll link above, where I talk about, you know, how to really nail an anagram. There's a lot of important things when it comes to anagramming. I'll probably make a Mentalism 101 video on anagrams at some point. The key is to make it seem like you're telling them rather than asking them, you know, when you're doing the anagram. That's the main key, but I won't talk about that too much here because you don't actually see the anagram process. But it was just like super quick, and I know exactly what their sign is. And then I use kind of Darren Brown's repeat-a-ploy at the end, and you can see when you use the repeat-a-ploy, you know, you have them repeat it in their mind, and you say it Libra, 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 and you pause and you wait for the reaction. Because if I would have jumped the gun, her reaction was a bit slow, right? We'll watch it back in a sec, but it's a bit slow. And if I jump the gun too fast, I take a nice good 2-3 second pause, let her react and realize that I just get it. Rather than jumping the gun, I would have missed it. So let's watch here.
Keep repeating over like Libra.
What the What?
So you can see it's a bit of a slower reaction, and it kind of builds up, and then she's like, then it hits her, right? And so that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm gauging with this. And for anyone who says anagrams don't work, look, when performed right, look how strong they can be.
Can you do it on? But I didn't notice when he said Libra. Like I didn't notice. I'm like, wait, what?
But when he said say Libra, I was like,
I haven't done this one in a long time. This is something...
Is this one cool?
I hope.
So this is the kind of killer effect of this set. This got insane reactions, and this is an effect called double determination. So I taught this way back on the channel. I'll link it up there. But you know, it's an effect that I don't do a whole lot anymore, but it's an effect I used to love doing. And I created this effect kind of when I first learned how to force a card using equivoque. What really inspired it is I remember I was very young, and there was this family friend who did a little bit of magic. You know, I was interested in magic. I had some magic kits. I liked magic. I loved to watch him perform when he would come around. He would just show the kids tricks and the adults a bit, and I would watch, but I didn't know much about magic, so he was blowing my mind, and he did this trick, right? The good old 4 piles of 4, where you lay the cards out like this, and you just equivocate force. You say point at 2 piles, and if they point at the piles that you don't want, you take them away. If it has your card, you leave them, right? And you narrow it all the way down to 1 card. And I saw him do that, and my mind was so blown. I could not believe how he was able to get us to pick that card. You know, I don't really remember what the rest of the effect was, but I just remember that. I remember talking about it with my little brother who knew nothing about magic, and he didn't understand. And then I think, this might not be completely accurate, but this is the best memory. This was a very long time ago. This is the best recollection I have. I don't think he told me. I think it was his wife. And I begged her. I'm like, I like magic. I'm kind of into it. Like, please just tell me how he did that one. It was explained to me. And then I just started going and doing it right away, right? So I would put out the 4 piles and I would just do it with no thought to the script, no thought to anything. I'd have the 4 piles and people would point at these 2, I'd move them away. And it started working and getting the best reactions I ever had at my very young, maybe 8-year-old, you know, or whatever, 8, 10-year-old performing card tricks, right? The best reactions I'd ever gotten. I was actually impressing my parents and some of my friends, right? For like the first time. I started to learn a little bit more. But I never really learned equivoque from a source. My equivoque, you know, with everything I've created and learned through equivoque was, or started as stuff that I learned the hard way, that I kind of taught myself. So the story here is I ended up showing it to my brother, and he saw right through it. I didn't do it nearly as well as the magician, the family friend. And so when I did it to him and he saw it the second time, and you know, he pointed at these 2 and I took them away, and then he points at this one and I keep it, it broke the logic, and he realized like, oh, you're just doing whatever you want, basically. You're not listening to me. And I was like, I guess that is what I'm doing, right? It kind of clicked in that moment, like that's what equivoque is. As I got older and I knew that method, I started to think about, well, how can I make this more deceptive? Well, I need to make the things feel more congruent, right? I need to have different statements. I need to make them do different things, not just point each time. It has to be pull towards you, push, touch, right? You got to change up the linguistics so it feels different, so you won't have any contradicting statements. Anyway, long story short, then I see some other equivoque techniques, some of the verbal ones. That's what I really fell in love with equivoque, when I realized you could do it verbally without like touching objects. Eventually I saw all these different techniques. I remember seeing a thing from Alex Pandrea, seeing some stuff from Pete Turner, and eventually I created that perfect verbal playing card equivoque, which I've taught on the channel, which I use all the time. I use that now when I do this effect. You know, I would recommend you use that now, use that, because this effect is basically all equivoque. But at the time, I had a different methods, all kind of equivoque, but some not so good. So we'll see, or not as good, I should say. And so we'll see what I use here. I don't really remember. But the point being, this effect is all equivoque. It's so easy, but it's all equivoque. It's all about the structure. I have tons of entire effects that are totally all based off ACAN 100%. That, you know, magicians might see and get scared of or think that would never work, but they're some of my best effects because the scripting is what's important. If you take time and think about the scripting and really do it properly, equivoque will fool anyone, the smartest minds. I've done effects like this on my engineering colleagues with equivoque, right? Some of the, you know, smartest people I know, we're all engineers at my work. I do equivoque on them all the time. I do magic on them all the time. They get fooled, right? They're very analytical, but it's because of how well the script is thought out. Right, so go watch my verbal playing card force and really rehearse that script and practice it exactly how I teach it for the most part, because that is what I've spent so long on perfecting to make that always work. If you want to learn an incredible effect I've taught on my Mentalism membership, my best card magic effect, my incredible ACAN, you can go check that out as well on my Mentalism membership and see some kind of new ways to use some techniques like this. Anyway, let's see this here. So this effect is basically, I have one spectator pick a card, they don't show anyone else, then I deal out 16 cards, 4 piles of 4, and basically I have the spectator select piles and narrow down to one card, and while I'm doing that I have the rest of the audience start naming a color and a suit and eventually a card, and we end up naming his card and he ends up finding his card from the pointing. So it's like we're working together and we're creating a card verbally and he's finding a card physically, and eventually it ends up being his selected card. We have this beautiful kind of match and beautiful finale. So again, I've taught this effect on the channel. It's linked in the cards, called Double Determination. It's an absolute killer. So let's check it out.
Touch a card, anyone you want, just touch it.
There's a card.
So I believe here I'm using my spread force, my handling of the spread force, which I'll teach up here. Basically allows you to force a card with the classic kind of call underneath the spread, and then it allows you to force it. When they touch a card, you just lift up and this will be the force card. You don't have to do any of this square up nonsense. So if you want to check that out, I've linked it above. But that's how this effect begins. It begins with a force. I always force a picture card because of the equivoque force. The verbal equivoque force is much cleaner with a picture card, but it still feels like any card. And then because it's a force, I can immediately hand it out for a shuffle.
That one right there? Yep. Okay, remember that card. But
so you can see there's no square up. I just lift the deck straight up and that's the force card.
No one else can know what it is.
Can you show the camera?
No one else can know. You didn't see?
No, you said no one else can know.
No, the camera, sure.
Okay, the camera can know.
This one right here, you won't forget it?
Yeah.
And that was a force, right? That card came from that call position, and look how how good it looks.
You sure? Don't forget. Okay. So streaming live, bro. Let's try this. We're gonna make some piles here. Okay. Can you call stop anytime you'd like?
Stop.
Right here. Okay.
So again, this is all kind of broken down in the tutorial for this trick, which I would recommend you go check out because there's a lot more details to this. But high level, at this point, I've controlled the card to the bottom, right after the peak, control to the bottom with a pass. Then I'm gonna drop cards off the top and I say call stop at some point. So now it makes it feel like they've called stop at a random point, and I'm gonna deal a random 16. But at some point in that 16, I'm gonna hit a bottom deal and place their card somewhere where I'll remember which one it is. I used to always put it at the top of the third packet, and that's how I would remember where it is.
So I'm gonna make some piles like this. Here's what we'll do.
Now watch for the bottom deal. So I've bottom dealt it to this card up here.
So we'll see. I know you're watching. I hope if we're lucky, maybe where you said stop, hopefully you had a good.
And one thing I want you guys to pay attention to that I just remembered from this performance, at the end, you'll see the guy in the black shirt here. He'll say, it's crazy because the trick where people, you'll point at two and they'll take away the other ones, or they won't listen to what you say. Like, they'll kind of force you to pick one. He literally describes exactly what I did, but he'll say, but he didn't do that. I could have done whatever I wanted. And it's amazing because he calls exactly what I did. He must have, seen it before or had someone show him a trick like this, but it's because of how well layered the scripting is and how different everything is. Again, the key is different. Everything feels different. Doesn't feel like equivoque each time, so that even though he thought of the method, he didn't think it was the method, and he can totally said, but he didn't do that. How is that possible? And it made it just even more impressive.
Playing his cards in one of these, I hope. If it's not, this won't work, but we're gonna try. So we're gonna try as a group, because none of us know his card. We're gonna try to figure out and read him and figure out what his card is. Imagine for me that we have a box, an invisible deck of cards, and I'm holding it here, right?
So now we're going into the verbal equivoque force. Again, this is older, so I don't know exactly what scripting I'm going to be using here. So let's see if it's, the perfect one that I've developed, or if it was one of the works in progress.
We have black cards inside and red cards inside, and I dump one out. Which color do I dump out?
The black one.
The black card. So I dump out the black cards, and now we have those red cards left in the box. I take those and I spread them like this. So I'm going to give you the red cards. Can you hold them?
So that's key, right? When she says black, which is obviously I'm trying to force the king of diamonds, so I don't want her to say black. Don't say, okay, we'll get rid of the blacks, right? The scripting is, I have an invisible deck of cards and I dump one out. Which one do I dump out? Well, dumping out is like, you dump something out in the garbage. So if they say black, well, it kind of makes sense that we're dumping them away. But you don't need to say, we'll dump them out and we'll get rid of them, right? All I do is I mime throwing them away. And then I say, All right, well, dump those out and I'll hand you the box of red. So bring attention to the positive, not the negative. Don't bring attention to, okay, so we'll get rid of those. No, bring attention to what we have left. So I have an invisible deck of cards. I dump out one color. What do I dump out? Black. All right, perfect. So I'll hand you the box of red cards, right? Much nicer looking. So let's look at that again quick.
The black one.
The black cards. So I dump out the black cards and now we have those red cards left in the box. I take those and I spread them like this. So I'm gonna give you the red cards. Can you hold them? Just hold on to the red cards and we'll stay there.
One thing that I would tweak a little bit, and what I do now is if I have the red cards left in the box, I'll say, here, I'm gonna hand you that box of red cards and I want you to imagine dumping them out and spreading them in your hand. I like that better.
Oh, you're dropping. This is where you're gonna come into play. I want you to put your hands on 2 piles. Just put your hands, yeah, on 2 piles. Those 2, perfect.
So think about, let's think about this again. Let's pay attention carefully. He puts 2 hands down on 2 piles and we keep them. We keep the ones that his hands are on, right? If he put his 2 hands on the other 2 pile or pile that wasn't our pile of interest up here, I simply would have said, okay, take those piles, smush them together and put them off to the side, right? Either way, it's perfectly logical.
Okay, lift your hands up. And now, yeah, push one towards me.
And again, how I used to do this as a kid, I would just say, put your hand on another pile. Well, now if he puts his hand on the other pile and I tell him to get rid of it, it doesn't make any sense. So again, we've totally switched it up. The context now is push one towards me. So if he pushes the one towards me, it makes sense that we keep it. Or if he pushes one towards me, it's like he's pushing it away from him, so we're getting rid of it. So that's just the shift in context depending on what he does.
Okay, perfect.
So again, he pushed that one. It's like he's picking it. He's pushing it towards me. So it's perfectly logical either way. So as you can see, I just break this up. I'm doing equivoque for the whole routine, but I do physical equivoque, then verbal. Physical, verbal, and I just kind of time it up so we end up, the final step of the verbal to reveal the card is right at the last step of when we actually find the card.
Let's try this. You have the red cards, right? What? Okay, so there's 2 suits. There's the hearts and the diamonds, okay? Do you mind, in your head, just switch between hearts and diamonds? So go hearts, diamonds, hearts, diamonds, hearts. Just keep switching over and over. Now, whenever you want, you're gonna say stop. And when she says stop, you stop in your head, but don't say it out loud yet, okay? Okay. So whenever you'd like.
Stop. Okay.
Okay, if you were to change your mind one more time, what would you be at?
Hearts.
Hearts, you're at diamonds in your head? And you like that? That's a good choice? Okay, perfect.
Okay, so this so far has been kind of the worst outcome for the verbal equivoque. I got black and I got diamonds. So this here, and I've kind of, you know, changed a little bit how I do this one particular force of the suit in terms of the scripting that I follow up with if they say the suit that I don't want. So you have them change over and over in the mind. Again, I've talked about this in a ton of detail already in my verbal equivoque force video, so I won't spend too much time. But when you have them say the suit out loud, you say, you know, don't say it out loud, but if you were to change your mind one more time, what would you be at? So they've stopped on something and you tell them to change their mind one more time, what would they be at? Now, if she had said diamonds, perfect, it's perfectly congruent. It just seems like I had them change one more time. It's completely random. I don't know what card they're on, so having them change doesn't, you know, make any difference. She said hearts. So now I need to find a way to get her to segue back to diamonds, which was in her head. Now it kind of makes logical sense that whatever she stopped on in her head would be the one we'd go with. It's a little bit strange to have her change one more time, right? Because again, it's random, so it really shouldn't make a difference. So if you end up going with the one that she changed her mind to, then it's logical because it's random and it doesn't make a difference. But if you don't, and you want her to go to the one that's still in her head, not what she said out loud, well, it's kind of like, why would you have me change my mind? Why wouldn't we just go with the one in my head? That's what makes logical sense. So you're going to kind of use that to your advantage and call back to that. So what I usually say is, she'll say hearts, and then I'll say, oh, so you're at diamonds in your head. That's a great choice. Let's go with that one. And they'll almost always agree, and they'll be like, yeah. And either they're saying, yes, that was the one in my head, or they're agreeing, yeah, let's go with that one. But regardless, you're getting a yes. And you kind of see I just brush right by it and I move on. This is kind of a forgotten sort of moment, but it also flies totally fine. So let's check again how I handle that.
In your head? And you like that? That's a good choice? Okay, perfect. Now,
you see, diamonds in your head, that's a good choice. Okay, perfect. And I move on to the next thing. I don't even give her that much of a chance to answer. She kind of is like, yeah, okay, like, you know, and we just move on. You know, there are other ways to force the suit. Obviously, you can do it a ton of different, but I've always loved this way of forcing it, and it's something totally different. And it, you know, I think either way, obviously it's best if they just say the suit you want. But, you know, doing this callback to what they had stopped on, because think about it, that's what they stopped on when the person called stop. You You know, that is what they had stopped on originally. So it kind of makes sense that we would go with that one. So you just have to call back to that and work in the scripting, right?
Down to 2 options. Can you just touch 2 cards for me?
So here we can kind of go back to touch 2 cards again, because it's cards now, it's not piles. So we can kind of get away if we need to make it look a little bit different. In this case, remember, the first time he put his hands on the piles we wanted, in this case he happened to put his hands on the cards, so it's all congruent. If he put his hands on the other cards, it's okay, because we've changed the context now. It's cards rather than piles.
And let's do, here, hold your hands out.
So now I'm going to get him to narrow it down to the final card, because the next step of the equivocate process is to name a value, basically, right? And so I want him to have the card in his hand before we choose a value, right? I want him to have one last card. Don't look at it yet, but have one last card in his hand just before the moment where the value is revealed. And now I remember what process I'm going to use. So I'm using kind of another version of this, or like an older version. This is a version that I kind of talk about in my 7H effect video, which is kind of jazz mentalism, how to kind of force people towards any playing card you want and making it feel kind of organic and like you weren't in control. I used to, you know, do that process. I'd equivocate down to the suit, and then I'd completely force the value without any equivocate, just sort of like jazz mentalism. So if you want to learn more about that, I have a tutorial linked above. And I think here, we'll see, but I think what I use here is a really cheeky ploy. You can use this either to force the numbers or the pictures. If you want the numbers, you say, well, based off probability, it's most likely a number card. So what are some number cards? Here, you name one, right? So you kind of force the number cards by just saying based off probability. If you want to force the picture cards, you'd say, you know, I'm not quite sure what his card is, but, you know, I've been doing this for a while. I kind of have a feeling it's a picture card. I'm not really sure which one, but I have a feeling, a gut feel. So what picture card do you guys think it is, right? So it still feels like a free choice, but we've limited them to the pictures. Now you could do this fully with the sort of verbal equivocate process that I've labeled, where you could, you know, have them hand you the pictures or the numbers and do that way with equivocate. But I used to kind of do this with a bit of jazz, so you'll see how I handle that.
Just do it, just feel it, and just stick a hand forward, just at whatever feels right.
And again, this is a beautiful shift of context for the equivocate, because if he sticks a hand forward and it's the card we want, it makes sense. That's the one he chose, he put it forward. If it's the one that he puts forward and we get rid of it, well, it makes sense. The one he kept towards him, that last one, is the one we're gonna go with.
Am I still holding the cards? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you're holding on to one.
So in this case, he left the one I wanted to force, so it's beautiful. He's left holding on to it. I have him sandwich it in his hands, and it's a beautiful, beautiful finish.
Keep that in your hand like that, okay? Now, he's down to one card, and you had no idea. We didn't even know if your card was there. That would be, you made every decision, and that would be insane if this was your card. But
you can see it's already building in him. He's like, there's no way this is possible.
Done yet. So you have the diamonds. Can you separate them? Imagine separating them into number cards and the picture cards, like the face cards. Okay, so just imagine you separate them, and you hand me one, the numbers and or the faces. Which one do you hand me? Numbers. You hand me the
Again, we've gotten a negative. We've gotten the negative equivocate every single time. So we've had so far the worst possible outcome. They haven't said anything we wanted. So again, he's gonna say numbers, and listen to how I follow up with it.
So now you're left holding those face cards, right? Okay. So I'll take the numbers, hold those face cards, spread them out in front of you. Now,
again, it makes sense. He hands me the numbers, so he's left holding the pictures, right? Even with all negatives here on the equivocate, it still feels very, very good, very fair, as long as the scripting's right.
Diamond face cards. Does anyone have an instinct?
Queen.
Queen. Anyone else?
10.
That's not a face card.
Oh, a face card, guys.
Here I am jazzing a little bit. So instead of doing, again, in the equivocate process video, I explain how you kind of force or equivocate force this value. Here I'm doing a jazz technique, which I talk about in the jazz video, where I have who kind of feels strongly about a value, and I have someone say it. If it's the one I want, I lock onto them, and I give them sort of positive reassurance, and I direct the attention towards them. If they don't, well, then I just look at someone else. I say, do you have a sense? Do you have a sense? I just keep having people name them until someone names the king, right? Watch how I handle it. When someone names the king, I'm gonna latch onto them. I'm gonna say, oh, do you feel strongly about that? Yeah, that's a good choice. We can go with that if you want. But again, I'm giving them positive reinforcement, so they'll always say yes.
Sorry.
J.K.
King.
King?
Yes.
Do you feel strong about that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel powerful?
Yes.
See? Playing into their ego, playing into their feeling. And you could see 10 was named, even though 10's not a face card, but whatever. Jack was named first. Jack was named first, then 10, and then finally someone said king, right? So at this moment, I reiterate King of Diamonds, the card that we've all created, and I look at him, and You know, that's his card. And so at this moment, he's going to start to crack. It's going to start to set in.
That sound right? Was your card the King of Diamonds? Look, as a group, we were just able to read it. But how crazy would it be if that card you're holding, you made all the decisions, is also the King of Diamonds?
Oh no.
No way.
Oh no.
Check it out.
I'm scared.
Everyone, how would you? That's the thumbnail, bro. You just made the thumbnail. Get that thumb.
You did make the thumbnail.
Bro, you know what? Like, you know what's so messed up?
This part's hilarious. I'm just gonna let this play. This part killed me. His logic at the end to why he put, you know, his left versus right hand forward, hilarious.
I literally like I changed the hand last second.
Wait, really? Go like,
I was gonna give him this hand, bro. He played. Take this. Tell him like this.
And just in case you're skeptical, you guys can look. There's no other King of Diamonds in that.
I believe it, but just
check as much as you want.
There's a King of Diamonds in here somewhere.
They're all King of Diamonds.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, oh my.
These.
Is this like a card that has anything on it?
Is this like a debit
What
card
the
or something?
Yeah, change this to whatever card I want it to be. What card do you want it to be? Flip it over.
Stop.
That was a great little joke. He's like, is this like a magic card switches to whatever card? I'm like, yeah, put it face down and name any card.
Bro, I feel dizzy, bro.
Just play into your moments, right, guys? Hey, you have moments, you think of something quick-witted and funny, say it. You never know what'll hit.
Why did I do this?
So this is the moment. Pay attention to what he's saying. He's described the equivocate and completely dismissed it as a possibility.
I mean, you're rethinking all your life choices right now.
Bro, because like it's so not normal for me to do this.
Normally when people ask me to pick two piles of cards.
Yeah, I don't go, like, why did I go for the why did I inconvenience
But then you
myself?
gave him one. And then you gave him one.
And then why did I give
Yeah,
him
but see, if you chose the other two,
I picked red.
No, he didn't.
How did I know it was
Because
red?
it's not like he did the thing.
Look at him, do it again and choose the other two.
Bro.
See, she's pretty smart. She was like, it's not, well, if you picked the other ones, you might have done the other thing. And then he's like, no, it's not like he did that because I put my hands out, right? So it's kind of strengthening the effect in a weird way. But yeah, she was pretty smart on this.
Like, you know the thing when they tell you pick one and then they eliminate.
She was on diamonds.
See, he's talking about equivocate. He said pick one and they eliminate the other one, right?
I he picked
But I
my
chose two cards.
And then he picked the
We were bouncing it off.
Pick the numbers.
No,
I
you
said
said
Yeah,
hearts.
she said king.
But he said say the one that you would have picked after. So you said when you said
That's
diamonds.
what I said.
How the f did I pick the king?
You did all the work.
I don't give a f if he knew what. How the f did I pick the king? How did I not give him my right? Why did I give him my right?
This part's hilarious. He's explaining his logic to why he gave me his left versus right hand at the end. Hilarious. Listen to this. I'll just let it play.
Like it's with me. I like to I always like to keep the rights like my hand like if you told me to give you one of my hands, I'll give you my left, bro. I keep my right hand. Why the f did I give him my right? No, guys,
It's blowing your mind.
guys, no, like guys, it's so. I swear, like, tell me to chop off a hand right now. I'm chopping off my left hand, bro. My left hand is gone, but I'm not taking you. I gave him my right.
The logic.
Bro, it doesn't make sense.
Alright guys, that is it for me. Give me a breakdown, episode 18. I hope you guys loved it. Let me know what you thought, if this was helpful, and if you enjoyed these breakdown videos, let me know in the comments down below. If there's a video that I haven't yet broken down in this series, I'm going to eventually get to all of my street magic videos, but if there's one in particular you'd like me to break down next, please let me know, and I can try to move that to the front of the queue. If you'd like a private lesson or to join my Mentalism membership, links are in the description. And with all that said, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.